So I made about 25 million in the first few days of 6.2 in Final Fantasy XIV. And I think anyone can do this, but not everybody can do this, if that makes sense. Anyone has the ability to do this, but if everybody tries to do this, it's not going to work out. So I just want to preface that there to start with. And I think a lot of videos are misleading with that, saying, hey, I made 65 million gil in the first few days of the patch. And if every single person who watched that video or every single person that plays the game, does that, you're not going to be making that type of money. So you got to kind of keep that in mind and understand how the market's going to work. But I'll tell you how I did it, and I didn't do any market board shenanigans because I think that is a very inconsistent way to make gil. However, understanding how the market board works is definitely helpful. So basically everything that I did was sell materia. I did combat materia mostly and a little bit of the crafter materia to make a lot of gil. Then I sold some of the new legendary mats. I'll expand on this in a little bit. Some of the tome mats, some of the new purple script food mats that are needed for the new food. And then what I had remaining with the tomes, I did craft a couple pieces of armor and I sold 2 pieces of armor. However, now that I think about it, the intermediate mats probably would have sold for more than what I sold the pieces of armor for. Other than that, some of the gathering for some of the pots mats that I had left over, I sold. Some ether sand I sold, and then a lot of it was, or not a lot of it, I did sell a lot of like leftover food that was from the previous like Alpha Delos 1 through 4 tier, and with some old pots, but not all of it. And that was basically it. I did also have a large surplus of white script stuff. I did the carpenter level 89 craft for white scripts, and I had a giant surplus there, so I sold a lot of that, and that alone made me about 4 million, but that was just because of the sheer quantity that I had, not anything too special there. So now I'm just going to kind of go into some details of, now that I told you what I had, I'm going to tell you about the amounts that I had and some of the timing that came with it. First of all, if you have to understand, there's this thing called first to market advantage. This is why I say crafters can make a lot of money in like Final Fantasy, but it's not necessarily the best way to make money. It can be, but I can't like solidify it as number one. And the reason so is I was the first person to put the legendary like wood mat node that is needed on the market. I was the first one. It was the first node that I was able to hit when the patch dropped. I got it. And before going to the next mode, I went straight to the market board because whoever is first gets to pick the price. So I was like, okay, I'm first to market. I have 32 of these bad boys. I'm going to sell it for 100,000 a piece. And I put it up and it sold in 4 seconds. So I just made 3 million there because I picked the price. Now, after about 12 hours, they were selling for about 7,000 a piece. And then after about 2 days, they're selling for about 800 a piece right now. For those of you who are gathering and crafting, the first to market advantage is very huge. And for those of you who are buying, don't buy people or buy things that are the first on the market. Like, we had a week to prepare. Why did you spend 3 million gil for 32 logs? Like that, I don't understand. However, if you have the gil and you're a gil cap, your time might be worth more. Don't let me dissuade you. For those of you who do not have a lot of gil, you can wait the 6 days to make sure you have your gear ready. There is plenty of time. So that being said, I watched the market, noticed that, and then I gathered all of the mats that I needed for my tome gear, or for my crafted gear for this like raid set. And then instead of wearing it, I actually thought about selling it, and I sold 2 pieces because they were the first 2 on the market. I sold each of those pieces for 2 million a piece. So I made a little over 2 million. So I made about 5 million between those 2 pieces. And then the mats that were needed was like the pale blum cloth or whatever. I needed 3 per piece. I looked at the market board, and they were selling for about 700,000 a piece. I just sold a piece of armor that I needed for like 2.3 million that used 3 pieces of those cloth. you could have sold just the 3 pieces of those cloth for 2.1 million. So then I just started selling the intermediate mats, and then I made about 15 million after making sure I had enough to recreate the rest of my set, because I still needed that for week 1. And I was like, okay, this is fine. I've made enough money. I didn't really attempt to make a lot of money, but at this point I was about 15 million. And then I looked and I saw materia was starting to go up. And this was at about noon now. I did sell a lot of my materia. If I would have waited about 4 more hours at peak times, which was about like East Coast 5 o'clock, materia prices skyrocketed and tome price skyrocketed. So that's another thing you have to keep up with. The majority of like people got off of work are in East Coast and West Coast. So when those times happen, prices influxed upwards. So if you weren't first to the market in the first hour or so of the market, if you waited till that time, that was another opportunity to make money. Obviously, all of my materia sold because when the supply started to run out, because I did put a lot on there, when East Coast got on, a lot of it went out the window and a lot of it sold. And I want to say I didn't really even have that much. The majority of my materia comes from, extracting from my armor pieces, running experts about once a day until I hit the tome cap for the week. And then also when I was leveling characters, I'd make sure I got the bonus from Alliance Raid and leveling roulette with those cracked clusters. Now, I didn't even have that many. I had about 200 of each, a total of about 300 combat materia total I sold on the market, mainly the red variety with the crit hit, the det, and the direct hit. Between about the 300 I sold, I made another 4 to 5 million there. And the remainder of my 5 million came from some of the gathering materia, some leftover mats, some of the white script mats, the carrots, and then some of my previous tier food like potato potage. That being said, a lot of this you can start prepping for now. So I know that when the Dancing Queen or the Shadowbringer's trial was announced, that was going to be the craftable glamour weapon, those skyrocketed to about 500k a piece. So you could prep now, which would mean the most likely ones are going to be ruby weapon, emerald weapon, or seed of sacrifice are probably the next 3 most logical bets for what could be a glamour next, because I believe Hades is already done, and then we have to go on to patch series trials that were added in Shadowbringers. Those would be logical guesses. Once again, that would be ruby weapon, emerald weapon, and or seed of sacrifice. My bet is on seed of sacrifice, but that's just speculation. So I would maybe get some of those mats for crafted weapons, and then that we're getting new crafted gear, and this is where all of the intermediate white script mats came in for me. Every day I gathered a map because I wanted to make the carpenter white script craft. I would get integral logs in the AR velvet cotton balls, and then I would just stockpile those. There was no need to sell them because there was no demand for white scripts at the time. And I just did that. I gathered my map every single day until patch 6.2 came out. I made all of those into the craft needed for the white scripts. And then I sold after I got all of the white scripts needed for the master recipe books. Now you won't be needing that in order to craft in 6.3, but you might want to stock up on some purple script crafts because 6.3 will bring a lot. So understanding trends and understanding what is coming to 6.3 is an opportunity for you to make a lot of gil. I gave one suggestion on the crafted mats, but also that 6.3 is bringing new crafted gear for duty of the land and hand jobs. So, oh my god, I said duty of the hand jobs. No! Why would I say that? Oh my god, I'm gonna leave that in there, by the way. But so they're bringing new gear for the hand and the land. Maybe you want to stock up on some of the purple script mats, because the P solution was needed this time around. They might be using that again, or they might make a new solution that you'll need. So that stuff will come from purple scripts, so that'll be in high demand. So you might want to save up on purple crafted stuff. Then you also know that there's going to be mats needed for that, so maybe you want to stockpile on some of those. But then probably most important thing that happens, because this is going to be the last set of gathering and crafting gear for this tier, is you're going to want to stockpile a bunch of crafted materia and gathering materia, so the green and blue materia respectively, preferably in 9s and 10s. And this is going to be the last big push in demand for it, so the prices should skyrocket. So you want to start getting your purple scripts and your white scripts for that materia and have a surplus of that materia to be able to sell. Because when 6.4 comes around, there's not going to, or 6.5 comes around, we're not going to get any more crafted sets. So there's going to be the demand for the rest of the expansion of Endwalker is just going to be constantly decreasing. So this is the last time that materia is going to be needed until combat materia is needed in 6.4. So just like understand, and I'll make another video about like other ways to prep as we get on, but understanding what comes in the patch means you will be able to prep for what you can start building towards. Understanding that, hey, I gather a map every day to make gil, but what am I going to do with these mats? Gather those mats with a purpose so that you can use that to make money when things influx and come into the game, like at patch release. So those are just some of my suggestions and some of my thoughts and my explanation of how I made 25 million in the first week of Final Fantasy. If other people have other tips for people who want to make gil in 6.3 or maybe at 6.25, definitely share that down in the comments below, because I want to be as helpful to everyone that is involved as possible. And with all that being said, you know Joe, like and subscribe if you like someone's video, give them a thumbs up. That goes for anyone's video, it's just not mine, because you know it helps out creators a great deal. And as always, I hope you have a great day.